These are 10 things which you should really know before buying Assetto Corsa EVO, as we already had some really hyped racing and sim racing games releasing in 2024 which turned out to be a big failure. So in this video I'm going to let you know about some of the things in Assetto Corsa EVO which I think a lot of people are not aware about. I'm going to let you know about the pros and cons of the biggest Assetto Corsa EVO features such as graphics, handling, which wheels will be compatible and supported, open world, modding, VR, and the all-important cars and tracks. And if you should get the game in early access, or maybe it's better to stick right now with a different sim racing game. So let's talk about the first thing you should really know. There are 20 cars confirmed to come to Assetto Corsa EVO in early access, but I'm also going to let you know what the downsides are. So of the cars, I have some big favourites here. The Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo is coming to Assetto Corsa EVO from day one, January the 16th, and I've driven this car in real life and it is the most fun car I've ever driven. Was able to drive it in Las Vegas. I cannot wait to do the same in Assetto Corsa EVO. In fact, I'm going to use this car to let you know all about handling and physics and how accurate it is. The other cars I'm looking forward to, the Ford Escort RS Cosworth is an absolutely classic car that I think is going to be a fun one in EVO to tune, to understand and set up differences, to try and get faster in a hot lapping scenario. And obviously I love the Mazda MX-5. I've also raced those previously in real life. And the Toyota GR86 could be a fun car as well. Quite a fun car to drive in iRacing, so I'm going to be comparing against iRacing. Now I promise I'll let you know about the downsides here. There are no GT3 racing cars coming to Assetto Corsa in the initial early access release. I don't know why that is, but it's quite disappointing if you're a big GT3 fan. But let's get into graphics now, because arguably this is what's the most important thing for a lot of people. We want to be racing in the best possible graphics. It's no surprise that PlayStation show off Gran Turismo as a graphics powerhouse and Microsoft do the same with Forza. So what about Assetto Corsa EVO? Well, interestingly, we know that it's a custom DirectX 12 powered Kunos engine. So they're promising realistic skies. They're going to use volumetric clouds and fogs. They want you to be immersed in an atmospheric experience. And I definitely felt that when I was driving Assetto Corsa EVO. I was really lucky. I went to Germany to play an early access version of the build, and especially at night time at Imola, it felt very immersive. I felt like I could feel the fog, I could feel the volumetric effects. They also talk about dynamic global illumination and refined reflections and using advanced rendering algorithms, and I did feel it. So you might need a beastly PC to get the most out of it, but I can tell you when it's running its best, I personally was also impressed by the graphics. Now, I think a lot of people will have been offended when I said graphics are the most important thing. I hear you. For me personally, it's actually the handling. So let's also talk about handling, because Kunos have promised a lot of improvements here over Assetto Corsa, including suspension improvements. So handling in Assetto Corsa EVO, when I drove it in Germany, I was immediately impressed, especially at Brands Hatch. Driving in a front-wheel drive Hyundai, I could feel the traction. It reminded me of driving cars in real life when I've driven on tracks, when I've raced. The sensation of exceeding grip is very important. You know, it's important to understand when you're on the limit of grip, but also when you've exceeded it, when you've made a mistake, the sensations you get through the wheel, through the tyres is very, very, very important. I felt that. I also felt critically, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this, that the braking in Assetto Corsa EVO felt highly realistic. It's not like you just brake in a straight line and then you go straight and then you release the brake and you turn to the corner. We're always braking a little bit crooked. Often we're braking slightly into the corner. This is a habit that can be improved through coaching to really straight line brake. But because we're often braking a slightly crooked way, when you get on the brakes in Assetto Corsa EVO, in my experience, you do feel the car actually wanting to turn a little bit, that it's not set up right in terms of your angle, and I really enjoyed that. Braking is quite interesting in Assetto Corsa EVO, and they've promised revolutionary physics, a new tyre model, more precise information for the wheel, and lots of other stuff as well. Obviously the proof is going to be in the pudding, and there's going to be a lot of wheel support, and it's very interesting to see that they've just come out with a dedicated wheel support for all your big brands like Logitech, like Fanatec. like Sim Magic, so a wheel experience on Assetto Corsa EVO looks like it might be the way to go. The jury is out on controller, so if you don't have a wheel, I wouldn't rush and buy this in the first minute. I would take a look and see how it's going to be on controller, and I'm going to make a video directly for you as well on launch. What about tracks as well? It's all very good having handling, but what tracks are we going to drive on? I would say this is going to be a little bit of a letdown for a lot of people. There's only going to be 5 tracks in the initial launch early access, which are Brands Hatch, Imola, Laguna Seca, Mount Panorama and Suzuka. So they're great tracks, no doubt, but there's only 5 of them. So you're going to have to really enjoy getting the most out of every car, tuning it, different environments, because you're not going to be able to really globetrot about many different tracks. And speaking about the track list, did you know something was missing? Because interestingly, the Nordschleife is not in that list. And not only that, the Eifel open world region is not on the list. So I can confirm open world is not going to be there at early access launch. So I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to recommend, other games that you might want to try instead. So if you're looking for an open world game, don't buy Assetto Corsa EVO at launch. There's going to be no open world in it. You may as well stick to your Forza Horizons. You may as well stick to your Cruise, etc. However, if you are looking for that track experience, you are going to get some pretty impressive tracks. Now, early access is a process where they develop the game over time, and at some point, they say by the summer of 2025, they are going to add that open world region of Eifel. So it will come later, but not something you need to rush for on January 16th. Something that is coming on day one, on January 16th, it's now confirmed, virtual reality. I was worried this wasn't going to be supported from day one, but they've now made some more noises that this is an important feature for them in OpenXR, using the OpenXR renderer as well, which is a good sign, not just relying on Steam VR. So virtual reality could be a killer feature for Assetto Corsa EVO. Unfortunately, we're going to need to wait to marry that with the open world. I'd be as surprised if the open world is not compatible with VR, but maybe that's why the open world is taking some more time. I don't know. But it's going to be another way to experience these 5 tracks, doing it in virtual reality as well. I'll be doing a lot of virtual reality content in the game. Something that's not coming, so you should be aware of this, is modding. Modding is not coming in early access, full stop. This is a feature that I think many people expect. There's a huge number of people who associate Assetto Corsa with doing canyons or having your pure and soul mods, whatever mods you're running. You won't be able to do it in early access in Assetto Corsa EVO, so just don't buy the game if you're expecting these third-party mods or expecting your favourite AC mods to run in Assetto Corsa EVO. We're going to need to wait for a long time to see how that mod is going to work. And just one more thing that's not coming here, I just want you to be aware, is multiplayer. There is no multiplayer in the first day of early access in the first period. That's going to be a big surprise for people that like, Gran Turismo daily races or iRacing online. I am surprised they've decided to omit it, because I think it would be a great network effect for people to, you can tell your mates, oh, got to get on EVO, I want to race you over the weekend. You're just not going to have that. It's going to be a very solitary experience actually, which I'm a bit disappointed by. But anyway, that's going to come later. They're focusing on what they're coming with at early access launch. Something that could be impressive is sound. They've talked a big game on sound, like a really big game. They talked about having the highest quality sounds for engines, tyre feedback, chassis, and the accessories like the wipers, the ignition and the indicators. You want it to feel like you're actually in one of these incredible vehicles, and it's got to sound right as well. They've talked really specifically about turbo wires and compressors, so all these things that may change as you modify your car with setups. And they've also added distinct audio for cityscapes, forests, and the racetrack. So the racetrack should feel buzzing and alive. If you played Assetto Corsa Competizione, you kind of have some very familiar sounds we've been listening to for years and years and years now. So hopefully this is going to be refreshing. And I can't end this video without a very important one. Don't buy this game on day one if you don't have a PC. It's only on PC in early access. It's not on PlayStation or Xbox. So if you have a PlayStation 5 or 4 and you've been waiting for a long time for Assetto Corsa EVO, there's no point, nothing's going to change for you on day one. So I'm the same, I've got my PS5, I would love to play EVO on the PS5, but I can't. So you can kind of see how Assetto Corsa EVO is being developed. You can tell your developers of your favourite games on console to add these features. Maybe they're going to be features that are going to become more widespread
in sim racing, but unfortunately no console at launch. There we go, that's 10 things you need to know about before you buy Assetto Corsa EVO. Let me know which feature you're most looking forward to in the comments, and I'll see you next time.